So in today's video, we're just going to continue from where we stopped yesterday. So yesterday we looked at different things. We worked on different pages, working on this doctor's page. We also worked on the home page, put this carousel, and then we also worked on this page whereby you can toggle between the service details and the availability. So that's what we did yesterday. So in today's video, we're just going to work on the availability component. Now we might not make it work, but we have to have some things at least going. Okay, so the first thing before we continue is that I wanted to tell you that you need to go ahead and deploy. Okay, so it is good that you teach yourself for every changes you make in your code, just deploy, so that you don't have bugs that you might arise in the future. So it is good that you deploy right away. Okay, so I'm just going to request you, if you haven't deployed, I went ahead after yesterday's video and I deployed mine. So now we can just go ahead and start from there. Okay, so with the availability, if you look at what we are trying to build, let me get this here. Okay, and let me just go to that page. Okay, great. So this is how it looks like now. We have to show the calendar, and then on the side we have to show these times for each of the dates. Now we're just going to copy, for example, the calendar. If you just look at calendar, okay, if you just say calendar, how they do the thing, so you're just going to go here and get here. Okay, so if you look at them, this is how their thing is. When you select a date, then they show you the available time. I'm just going to open this and also this here. Okay, so this is how it is when you click on this. They have this, select the date, and then when you click on the date, they pick the date here, and then times you are available. Now, like this is, I think, this is how we want to show it. The time is going to be on the side. Okay, okay, yeah, so we just want to show someone selects a date, and then they look at the available time that we have. So we might just need to design the calendar on the side, and then the time also on the other side. Okay, so it is going to be side by side. So going back here, it's not going to look like this here, the way they did like this. However, we're just going to use the calendar from shared, and then we're just going to put the time side on the side. I think this is also much better. Okay, we would of course do this is not extremely hard to do. Like, we could just get a current date, which is like this date, uh, and after getting the current date, then you can have of course the one previous date and one date in front, and then you can just simply display them there. That is not a big deal, even putting these arrows here. But I think someone having a bit to select the whole month, any date in the month, it is really nice. Okay, so now we can just go ahead and start on that. So yes, we're going to go to shard. Okay, go to shard cn, and then yes, we're going to go to the components, and we're just going to use the calendar component. So they have this calendar component just like this. Okay, they have this calendar component. Now the first thing is to install the calendar, so I'm just going to copy this. Okay, so this is going to install the calendar, and let me just be creating a component that is going to hold that. So in the components, create the availability component, availability .tsx, rfc, okay. So this is going to be divided into two parts: the calendar, and then also the available time. So it will have two parts, as we saw in this photo here. Okay, okay, so we'll have the calendar, and we shall have the title, select a date and time. So here I'm just going to have h2, which says select a date and time. Okay, and then after that we will have the, of course, the calendar this side and the date this side. So we can just come here and we say dot. I'm just going to use, I don't know if we should use yeah, we might just need to make it responsive. So we're just going to say, I just need to say that dot grid, and here you say grid equals 2 dot gap, and if you just even need a gap, just put these two. So for the calendar, we're just going to say okay, just say dot correspond 1. Similarly to the time, call span 1, and then on the small screen, this one can you say, so this one can be maybe LG or SM, then you can just say call span full, and even this one called span full, called span. Okay, so this one will occupy the entire on the small screen. So here just going to add our calendar, and then here we're just going to have also a heading saying, so I'm just going to have h2 here. This one is going to have the selected date, Wednesday, February 2. I just say here Wednesday, Feb 2. So we just have something like this. Okay. The most important thing is the month and the date, and then after that we're just going to have the time. Of course, we could just have this, we give it some padding, more especially some padding bottom of maybe 4. So let's start with this, the calendar. So I'm just going to go to shard. Now that I've added the calendar, you can just simply go here and we can pick this very one, as simple as that. So you can just first import the calendar on top here. We already have React. Then we have the this whole thing, which is keeping the date. Okay, so we have the date here, set date, and we can just call this one book date, and set book date, set book date. Okay, is this, and is date or undefined, and it starts with a new date, like today. There's a new day instance, and then we just have this return the calendar. So just going to copy the calendar like this, and let's go to this here, let's add the calendar, and this is going to be the book date, and then this one is going to be set book date. Okay, something like that. Okay, so great. So now if we just go, and I also want to make this one a use client, I guess it has to be use client, and also go ahead and say console.log book date. Okay, and this availability, we just have to take it to this component, has to be taken to where we have doctor details, I think doctor details, where we had two things here, availability. So this is availability component. I'm just going to come and I put it here, availability. Okay, and let's go and see under availability here if we have the calendar. Okay, so the calendar is here, displaying very well. Okay, now let me see. Okay, the calendar is there. Now of course we need to put this date there. We have select date and time. I'm just going to go ahead and give that. Okay, so I'm just going to go to availability. So first of all, let me just give this one class name, font. I'm just going to bold it, font bold, and let's give padding y of 4. Now for this, where do we have the grid? I think this should be, let me see. Yeah, that one has no problem. We can actually just have it like that. Uppercase and text slate. I'm just going to say 400 or 500, and I'm just going to say why this tracking. So let's just see how this one looks like, and maybe we just say XL. Okay, so this is great. Now what we just want is, if someone selects here, like you can see the date is here, today's date is here. If you select this just like that, we need to go ahead and check the selected date. For instance, let me just go and console here. Okay, so when you click here, okay, so when you click now, you can see when it's the March 13, and they give you also the GMT, East African time, blah blah, which is I think a great thing. They give you all this. Okay, so we can go ahead and set the selected date, for instance here. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the other side, this one, and inside here I'm just going to add some padding. So just say padding X, and just say maybe 4, and just going to make this one font same bold, and I'm just going to put here the selected time, dollar selected, we call it book date, and we can only show this if the book date is there. So if the book date is there, then we can also just show this. Okay, I'm saying here that date is not assignable type React node. book date. I saw the book date dot get Fourier, maybe. Okay, so for instance, we have all these ones. We might just need to show the get date. We have get day, get date. We might just need to organize it in the way we want. Okay, for instance, I could just say get date, React node. So just going to see with this date. Let me just first get this const date maybe is equal to book date dot get Fourier, for instance, and let me just also console.log date. So we have the selected date, and I need to display this here. Here they say Wednesday, March 2013, and here what do they display actually? Okay, so they just display this here, with March 13, and then they put the time plus this one. Okay, so great. So we just need that format. Okay, so I first paused the video for a second, and I was trying to see how I can manipulate this. Okay, this selected date. So what I did is here, so this is our book date. Now if before I just start, I'm just going to format to comment out my code here. Okay, I'm just going to even this, and then I don't know why this one is not commenting string. Okay, I'm just going to simply copy this whole entire thing. I think we just use this method of commenting, just this dot star, cut this, and let's put this here. Okay, so even if you go ahead and remove these, okay, let me just put on this one. Yeah, okay, so now you can see this has been commented out. So let's start with the simple one. So for instance, const, and I'm just going also to comment this one. So to understand it, let's go and say const formatted formatted date is equal to our book date. So book date, just like that. If this formatted date was equal to book date, and went ahead and consoled the book date, so you see we had seen this is how it is. So what we want to extract, these first ones, like word March 13th, maybe up to that, or you can even add the year 2024, and then we have this 00, and you have GMT, all that kind of stuff. So we could first convert it to string. So if you just go ahead and say book date dot to string, okay, so this is going to convert it into a string. So if you just console.log it, you see now, you may not notice a difference, but now this is a string. Okay, it's no longer a date format but a string. Okay, so if it's a string, we can actually split it. So if we just say dot, now you can see we can actually do the split. Now split is the method which converts a string into an array. So we could just go ahead and say dot split, and we split it on the empty space. So if you just look at this here, you can see that we had this whole thing here. If you convert this into a string, now you can see that we can actually get an array out of it. So you have 1 2 3, just like this. Okay, everything now is put into a string. Now we can just go ahead and start combining it. For instance, we can slice from 0 up to 4. So you could just say dot slice 0 up to 4. Now you could just even slice up to 3, because if you just look at this, we have this 1 0 1 2 3. Okay, because this one is not inclusive, that's why you're putting 4. 0 1 2 3. 4 is not inclusive, so they stop on this one. So if we never wanted 2024, we could even also remove it. Of course, we just remove actually this, so we could just say slice up to 3. Okay, so that one we just take only the date. It will just take off this 2024, and we remain with word March 13. So that is an array, and now we can take back to join. Now join method actually helps to join back into a string. So if you say join and also put the separator, so we join by space, so this is going to join it back into a string. So you can see now we have back a string, word March 13. Okay, now that's where we are stopping, and we are putting GMT. Okay, so at this point we could just say dash. Now since we wanted to construct one string, what we could just do is putting everything in this, and we use backticks. And if we use backticks, meaning that everything we have here up to this point is going to be in brackets and then a dollar here. Okay, just like that. Now we can just put this here. Now for the GMT, so far if you just check, this is going to be a string, of course. let me just do this. Okay. This expression is not callable. Type has no call signatures. Okay, so can you just like go ahead and remove this? This, yeah. Okay, so now we can just now go ahead and add the GMT. So for the GMT, you can just see that if you go back to the original, if you just go back to the original date, if you scroll up here, okay, so you can also get here this the GMT. You can see here. So what they you just say GMT, and you have the book date string split. Now is splitting at GMT. So like to be specific, you can pass in if you remember we had this whole thing here, you can split at this text GMT, and that's why like you wanted like to reach there first. You could just of course go ahead and use this method here, like you split the whole entire thing and then you get this. I think this is why you have GMT plus 003 already. Okay, but to be sure, actually splitting at the GMT, that is the easy one, because this one we don't know if it is going to be East African time. It can be some other time, and the array changes the indexes. So here, to be sure, is if you split. So if you just go here and, for instance, we could also just go ahead and say, for instance, const GMT, GMT extension GMT is equal to, so if we just create another string, we could just like go ahead and create another string, and dollar. Okay, now we could just go ahead and, for instance, we could even just fit to put just like this. Let's put book date to string and split at GMT. So if you split at GMT, let's just go and do this. Book date string GMT, and let me go ahead and console.log the GMT also. Okay, so you can see we have this 003 and then East African time. So now we want only the first one. So you can see it gives you an array. This is 0 and this is 1. So if you just go and say 1, because this is 0 and this is 1, I'm just going to go ahead and you say, for instance, the first item. Okay, so now you will get this 003 East African. You can see here 003 East African, and now we can this here we can go ahead and split it into an array. You can see, and so you can just say dot split, and we're just going to go ahead and split it with space. Okay, so it will have 003 East African and so on and so forth, like this. And then we can take the first item. Okay, so you say 0, so you can just go ahead and take this first item, just like that. And now you have now 03. So this is the extension. Okay, so now if you want to do this, okay, so you could just go ahead and do the GMT. So I'm just going to copy this whole entire thing up here. Just like this, and I'm just going to say minus, and I could just say GMT. Okay, GMT. How is it supposed to look like? GMT, and then we attach this whole thing here, $GMT. Okay, just like that. So now if you look at the formatted, if we just go ahead and console only the formatted with GMT, now you can see we have match with match 13, we have dash GMT 003. Okay, and even if you never wanted this 003, you could just also go ahead and split this and do whatever, but this is okay now. And then we can just go and get this formatted time, the formatted date, and then we can just put it here. We can just put this formatted date here. Okay, and I think we don't need to bold it, but let me just check uppercase, and let's say text slate 400. Anyways, let's just leave it not in uppercase. And we just leave it that 700. Okay, and you could just like also format it very nicely. Let me just first give it text center. Okay, so this is our date. We could just give it text blue instead. Let's see. Yeah, how about giving it padding y of 3, px of 4, and let's give it a border blue 500. Okay, so this is the date someone has chosen. Okay, this is great, and then we can also update this date here. Okay, we haven't put the time, but at least we can just update the date there on this. So we have the fixed something. Oh, so the fixed thing is the other side. How are we going to update? We'll update it. Okay, we'll have to send a function in here in this that is going to pick the date and time. Okay, so we suggest first to work on time also. So for the time, okay, so we have worked on this date. Now on the other side we need to put the time. Just below this. Okay, just below this. I don't know why we didn't put just here px4. Is it really okay? it's okay. Just down here, I'm just going to go ahead, you could put the border bottom. Oh, it already has a border. Let's go ahead and see. So the time, I'm just going to go to the doctor card and get that the time. So I'll just go and get this. Put them inside availability. So down here, what we don't have is the timestamps, so can just get the timestamps. Now these ones, they will have to be fetched from the backend. Okay, so you can just say this timestamps. Now we have the link. I'm not sure if we now need the link. What we can make this, we can make this a button. Okay, so we don't need href, because now it is going to be clicking and selecting the time. Even the more is going to be this. Remove this. Now I'm not sure if we just need to put them in 3 grids. We could just put them in 2 grids, but still 3 looks great. You can see the calendar now occupies and the time is down. Okay, then we have to put some margin bottom on this. Let me see. Okay, so you have to put some margin bottom on this so that the time can be viewed. Okay, so on this whole thing, let's just say in this whole component, I'll just give it a class name. Just say margin bottom, and you can just say 100 pixels, just like this. Okay, great. So now let's check on the small screen, just like this. Okay, we can just make it maybe more, maybe 200. Let me see. Okay, so that is okay. Yeah, that is okay. Then we need to sort of put some gap. So on this grid, we could just say, for instance, gap of 4. Maybe we could just say lg gap 0, like but we can just have a gap on the small screen, just like that. Okay, yeah, so you have this, and then we need to make all the dates. When someone selects a date, it has to have a different color and everything, and of course it also have to change here. Okay, so far so good. Let's just go here. So the availability, you can choose the date. So if for instance you chose 16th, so you can see here Saturday 16th GMT, then would fetch this. Okay, so we'll leave this the booking at this point, because first of all we need to be realistic with the time. Okay, so what we're just going to work on the remaining of our time is to work on the the dashboard, so that we have the data to work with really on the front end. Okay, so right now we're just going to start working on the front end, but in this episode is going to be really short, and I want to just show you that we can just simply add this small component. Okay, so in the next, what you just want to work on is actually the dashboard.